Welcome to a quick overview of the three most important things to understand about the product formerly known as Rally. To keep things straight in my mind, in Rally, I mentally group things into three categories: projects, time boxes, and backlog items. The first item we'll talk about is project. Your Rally administrator will create your projects for you. Project in Rally is the container for all of your time boxes and your backlog items. Everything that you do in Rally will be encapsulated into a project. The top project node, like shown here, should represent your product. Your product should be the parent node. Child project nodes should represent your Agile teams. You should have a separate child project for each team. When you create your parent project, be sure you designate that you want to copy all time boxes, users, and shared pages to the child projects, and then those items will be added to the children automatically whenever you update the parent. The second category is time boxes. Click Plan, Time Boxes to view, edit, and create time boxes. There are three types of time boxes: releases, iterations, and milestone. A release represents the program increment timeframe. It contains the name of the PI, the start and the end dates, the planned velocity, and any additional notes you want to add. An iteration is a sprint within a given time box. It is a subset of a program increment. It contains the name or number of the sprint, the start and end dates, the planned velocity, and any additional items you would like to add. A milestone is an important target date, like a release to market. It doesn't have a start and an end date, it's just an end date. This time box is optional. If your market releases correspond with your program increment end dates, then you may not need to use milestones. You could also use it for some significant goal you're trying to reach. Maybe you're going to a trade show and you want to show a certain feature by that date. This will help you track to that. The next item or the next category is the backlog. Everything that you create in your backlog can be associated with one of these time boxes or more of these time boxes. The backlog is a list of all of the work for a given product that is yet to be done. It can be broken into and organized in a hierarchical structure with up to 5 levels. Each one of these levels can exist independently or be tied to a parent. If you click Portfolio and Portfolio Items, you can see an example of the 5 different levels of backlog items here. The first one we'll talk about is strategic theme, also known in Rally as just theme. It's your parent backlog level. It is a high-level business strategy. It generally spans a long period of time, several years or even the lifespan of your product. The only time box that you can tie directly to a strategic theme is a milestone. A theme can be tied to a parent or a child project, so it can be tied to your parent project or one of your teams, and it is decomposed into solution capabilities. So the second level in my hierarchy, I can create what are called solution capabilities. And a solution capability can be a child to a strategic theme. Generally, my solution capabilities are those items that product managers list in the PRD. A solution capability can span multiple PIs, and it generally spans the same amount of time as your PRD does. The only time box that a solution capability can be directly tied to is a milestone. This can be tied to a parent or a child project, and it gets decomposed into features. The third level in my hierarchy, I can create what are called features. And a feature can be a child to a solution capability, although like each one of these, it can live independently. If you don't tie it up to a hierarchy, that's fine. A feature can only span a single program increment. It can be tied to a release and or a milestone time box. It can be tied to a parent or a child project, and it gets decomposed into user stories. Now, user stories are the actual items that teams will work on during an iteration. These are where the tasks are assigned to individuals. User stories can be a child of a feature. They must be small enough to fit within a single sprint. They can be tied to a release, a milestone, and or an iteration time box. Note that on this page, the only user stories that show are those that are tied to a feature. If you have a user story that is independent of any other parent backlog construct, it won't display in this table. User stories can be tied to features, but they don't have to if it doesn't make sense. Like if you have a user story that's just this one-off user story, it's independent, and it doesn't really tie into a big picture, that's fine. The fifth level is defects. A defect is considered part of your backlog. It can be a child to a user story like shown here, or it can be independent if it doesn't directly relate to a user story in your backlog. Like the user stories, if the defect isn't tied to a user story that is tied to a feature, it will not display in this table. A defect must be small enough to fit within a single sprint, and it can be tied to a release, a milestone, and or an iteration time box. If you want to see all of the user stories and defects, regardless of whether they're linked into these other type of backlog items, click on Plan, Backlog, and this page will list all of them. So there you have it. Those are what I think are the three most important things to understand about Rally: projects, time boxes, and backlog. If you associate all the different things you can do and create and edit in Rally with one of these three categories, it will make it a lot easier to understand the big picture and how everything fits together, and it will make your job a lot faster and easier. Thank you very much. Goodbye.